Hi everyone, this is Julianne Victoria. Welcome to my channel and welcome to the 2022 Year Ahead Vedic Astrology readings. So these readings will be looking at the planetary placements in the year ahead. So the planetary placements on January 1st, 2022 and how they relate to your chart. Of course, as usual, to get a more in-depth personal reading, a personal reading will be required. And I am opening up readings for year ahead readings, Vedic astrology, Western astrology, as well as some tarot reading options. And the link is below in the description box for that. Also, if you're interested in taking one of my online courses that I offer over on Teachable, those will only be available through the end of 2021. And those include the Journey Through the Nakshatras course and Shedding Light on Your Karma and Dharma. Those courses include PDFs and downloads. So if you're interested in those, you want to get them before they're not available anymore, check below, find the links. I'll pin them at the top of the comments as well so you can find them and see if it's something you're interested in. All right, let's get on to our year ahead readings. Hi Aquarius, welcome to your 2022 year ahead Vedic astrology reading. So here we have a chart with you set up as the first house for January 1st, 2022. In your first house, so the first house is the house of the self, the individual, your personality, your sense of self, your physical body and form. And we have Jupiter here in your first house. So Jupiter is the great benefic, he brings growth and expansion. So what I'm feeling is like an expansion of your self-confidence. Now, that doesn't imply you've been not confident in the past, but it's an expansion of your sense of self-confidence or sense of self, if you want to say it that way. And I'm actually I'm feeling really good vibes or jovial vibes, right? With Jupiter here. So with that sense, for most Aquariuses out there, hopefully all of you, it's going to be a pretty feel-good year, or at least in comparison to 2021 or maybe the past few years. You're going to be feeling better about yourself, about who you are, and that's going to allow you to grow and expand as a person. One thing to keep in mind, because first house is also the physical body, and hence one area where I look at health with Jupiter here, kind of a textbook thing of Jupiter in the first house, means that there can be an expansion of your physical form. So if you don't want to gain a lot of weight this year, keep that in check, keep that in mind, and keep that in check. Okay, for those looking to gain weight, or even those women out there looking to get pregnant, that could be, Jupiter here could be very helpful in that. Okay, so let's move on to your fourth house. Fourth house is the house of home, family, property, as well as mother and past lives. Your fourth house is Taurus, and we have Rahu here. We have your karmic axis in your fourth and 10th house axis. So Rahu is karma you're putting into action. And in this case, in the year of 2022, I want to say it this way. Normally I would say like Rahu is like drive and motivation, ambition, but I kind of want to say it's like things you want to get done, things you want to finish getting done as well for some Aquariuses in relation to home, family, property. So this could be vehicles, boats, large things you might own, very large things, right? Possibly concerning family, but it feels more material than relation-wise for this house, but it can play out with family. Things you want to get done or complete or get done that you could not get done before. That's the feeling I get here. You're very motivated to do that, very driven to complete that. Excuse me. I want to talk about the karmic axis here. So Rahu and Ketu are always opposite each other. And I have to say, this is the one thing in astrology where as far as I know, it always happens. Anytime I see Rahu and Ketu on this 4th and 10th house axis, there is a big shift between home and work. 10th house is career, work and home. With Rahu being on the 4th house side, it's more likely that you're going to move or change your home, or start working from home, which sounds funny because of the pandemic. Start working from home or working from home in a way you had not before. And with K2 on the career side, the 10th house side, that there's a move away from your career because you're moving home, a separation because you want to work from home. It could go the other way around because it does depend on how this lays on the planets and the drishtis in your natal chart. But there's some big shift going on between home and career. Or maybe you haven't had a career and you start up career, and that helps to change your home in some way, move or do something different with it. But there's some major shift here, or you transfer your job, you take a job somewhere else and you move your home, or vice versa. So yeah, that's likely to happen for quite a few Aquariuses out there, if it hasn't happened already in the past year, actually. But that energy is still at play as we begin 2022. Now, moving over to your 10th house of career, we have K2 here and Mars and the moon, which I'll explain in a moment. K2 here, so K2 represents the past, technically past karma, like in a natal chart, but in a transit chart like this, a chart for like a year ahead, it more specifically represents the past, like 2021, or possibly the past few years, or even further back in this lifetime. And I do get the energy, especially with fiery Mars here, and Mars rules Scorpio, your 10th house, of wanting to get away from what was. That's just how it came out. Wanting to get away from what was in your career and being driven, and I kind of feel like I like how, it wants to take off. Being driven being driven and passionate about your career taking off and wanting to get away from what was. So going back to the axis here, that may involve like, I need to move so I can get away from what I was doing and focus on my career, on what I'm really passionate about. And maybe you're already doing that, and then that's going to bring about a change where you live. But really, you want to get away from what was. And if you haven't yet, going into 2022, the passion, the drive for that is going to be even greater. And I do feel you're going to accomplish it, especially because the ruler of Scorpio is right here. Now, so this chart, the time is adjusted to 10 a.m. to get you, Aquarius, in the first house, to set it up so you can see how it might overlay on your natal chart. But at midnight on January 1st, 2022, the moon is actually here in Scorpio in the nakshatra of Jeshta, as Mars is here. So I'm going to read the moon here in your 10th house, as well as how it moves into your 11th on that first day of the year. So with your invisible moon here, the invisible moon I'm circling here, as at midnight on January 1st, that brings in a strong emotional component to your career. What do you feel like you want to do? And it may be calling forth for you to evaluate your career and how you feel about it for some. If for those who haven't moved away from what they don't want, it may help to fuel that passion for what do you want? Do you love your work? Do you hate your work? Is it okay? What would you rather do? How do you want it to grow? Do you want to move up where you're working, move up in the company? Do you want to move on to something else? How do you feel about what you're doing? Do you want a whole new career path? Or do you really love your career path? You're just trying to tweak it so you'll be more passionate about it and not bored about it. Or you want to work from home instead of go to the office, or possibly vice versa. So yeah, trust how you feel and trust your intuition when it comes to your career. That's going to help guide this passion, this drive to help your career take off in however it can take off, or however you want it to take off. Now, if we look at the moon as having moved into Sagittarius in Mula, and Mula is ruled by K2, wanting a more energy of wanting to get away from what was or what has been in your career. But if we look at the moon here in the 11th house is house of gains from career. So also thinking and feeling in your heart. what do you want to get out of your career? What would make you happy and bring you joy? It's also a house of network. What connections do you want to make in your career, or what networking do you want to do to help to advance your career and get it to where you want it to be, or on the path you want it to be? So again, listen to your emotions and your intuition when it comes to your career path, what you're doing, how you're doing it, and what you want to gain out of it. Now, also in your 11th house, we have the sun here, which is, your soul, how you shine brightly out into the world. And I like that the sun here is in this 11th house against from your career. That means you will be seen. Trust your intuition to guide you to those positions to where you will be seen, whether that's just for networking or a new job or a whole new career path or moving up in wherever you work. You will be seen. Trust your emotions to guide you, your intuition to guide you. And then we have Venus here. She is retrograde, which tends to internalize the energy, makes it more personal. And I kind of want to say, again, when it comes to the gains you get out of your career or the networking you're doing career-wise, this can also be personal network. What feels good? I want to say what warms your heart, but also what helps to support and fuel or even spark your creativity. Whatever it is you do, whatever creative element it is of what you do. Now, if we look at all of this in terms of, 11th house being your social house, your friends, your acquaintances, with this energy here. One, the sun here, as well as with Venus, means you could be quite popular this year. Personal social networking among friends, whatever group activities you do. But also that can apply to your business, your career networking. Which is good. You can be quite popular, you can be loved, you can be seen. But what is important to you personally is the emotional connections you make. So in your personal social sphere, the emotional connections you make. I guess that could play out also to business, network, and career or connections. But overall, when it comes to looking at gains from career, this looks pretty good. Depending on what stage you are of moving away from the past, but you will be seen, which means you could get that raise, you could get that promotion, you could get that job, you can be acknowledged, depending on what it is you do, of course. And then lastly, looking at your 12th house, the sign of Capricorn, ruled by Saturn, who is here. So Saturn is very strong in this 12th house. 12th house is the house of the psyche, moksha, liberation, yoga, meditation, the collective unconscious, emotional, psychological healing. The strong energy of Saturn here in Capricorn, he's been here and will be here all year, except for a teeny little toe dip in Aquarius. And he is your ruler. Aquarius is ruled by Saturn in Vedic astrology. What I'm feeling here is like most Aquariuses out there are pretty stable emotionally and psychologically. This doesn't mean there aren't Aquariuses out there who are struggling with anything like depression. And if you are, I feel like you will be able to stabilize it to some degree. Whether that's through therapy, because this is a house of, going to therapy, seeing counselors, whether it's through therapy, through, if that's what you need, if that's not what you need, through a meditation practice, through your spiritual practice. It just feels very stable in the psyche. And then we have Mercury here, the intellectual mind. A lot of studying. I know it sounds funny for this house, but studying what it is emotionally, psychologically, even psychically and spiritually, what it is that helps you feel very grounded within and gives you that sense of, okay, I'm really stable in my being. I'm really stable in my internal sense of self. And with Mercury energy here, like looking at it in an evaluation sort of way so you understand it better, to bring it to, like, it's hard to describe, to bring in more of that internal stability. This can also be like establishing or expanding upon. I know Saturn's not expansion, but establishing, and we'll say building upon any already established spiritual practices, whether it's meditation or yoga or something else, prayer, working with a guru, working with a therapist, working with a counselor. Those long-term relationships, whether it's just you or with someone else, are going to be very beneficial for you for years to come, because whatever you're establishing here is going to be there for your stability for many years to come. I hope that makes sense. And, another side of this is that some Aquariuses might be really interested in studying psychology and wanting to learn more about that, or anything connected to psychology and its connection to spirituality. Okay, that is your year ahead reading, Aquarius. Thank you for watching. Important links are below in the description box, and I'm wishing you a wonderful year ahead.